Sorry.
Learning us. I was going to say learning, but you know, ruining.
We don't.
That was what she
That was disturbing. Now, when I was watching you guys last time, I couldn't see over.
I think that's what Kim wanted.
So Matt, can you see us over here?
Nope, I can see Rhonda. And yeah, and right. That's it. Over to Jeff. That's it.
No.
How's that?
I can see half of Jeff.
Okay. That's excellent. That's perfect. All right. And Lisa, how's Lisa?
She sounds like she's going to be late.
Okay.
She's at a virtual doctor appointment. She's going to make her late for her virtual meeting.
I've been on one.
Yeah, Paulette, I understand, is going to Zoom as well.
Oh,
I
Is
know.
that what we- oh, not,
no,
oh,
no,
not.
she's not.
I thought she-
she's not. So we're all
Okay.
here.
Everybody's here, then let's start early.
Now we can wait.
So far. Oh my goodness, it's even more of a time for me now. Okay.
Oh, there we go. We'll give it a minute. So, is there anybody who looks like just Drew
Drew.
Matt online?
Angelina said she was gonna, Angie said she was gonna try, but she would be here for the 7-1 for sure.
Okay. That really
Ready
is
to
the longest
run?
minute. The longest right out the door.
John's coming right out the door. Yeah.
I told her, I said, Kim, we need to go on vacation. And that's it.
It's vacation. Isn't it?
Oh, so not vacation. We are not on vacation.
I'm even having the guilt about taking vacation.
Oh,
I'm like,
no. I tell you guys to go. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
6 o'clock. Let's call this meeting to order. Let's rise and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Let's dive into our 1920 budget review.
Right. Been an interesting spring. All right, it doesn't want to. There we go. So here's where we were in January. We made it through RIFs. We had made it through McCleary, post-McCleary bargaining, and we really thought that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. And then,
The light was.
the little storm moved in.
Wow.
So what we thought would be fairly easy in enrollment was no longer such an easy formula. There were so many questions revolving around how we were going to reopen, what parents would opt for how long would they opt for those alternatives. And we really decided that it seemed prudent just to stick with our original enrollment projections because otherwise we were going to drive ourselves crazy second guessing ourselves. So we did budget for a slight increase in enrollment, given our last 2 years of high kindergarten enrollment and those cohorts rolling through the schools and the survival rates of those cohorts. We're going to be up just slightly in 2021, and that is in the elementary and middle school levels. So, of course, with increasing enrollment, there are increasing staffing needs, particularly in trying to reach that 17-to-1 state mandate for class sizes. So for Weyerhaeuser, for the first time ever, we will have 3 teachers in each grade level, K through 3, and we have added a certificated music teacher. Eatonville Elementary has already had 3 teachers at each grade level. They have such a large bubble in that 1st through 3rd population that we are adding a multi-age classroom, which will be taught by Mrs. Helbig next year. She's returning. So they're actually taking a mix of first, second, and third graders in that classroom in multi-age abilities. Mhm. As you know, our special education enrollment has skyrocketed over the last couple of years. And they saw the greatest need for additional staffing. So we did hire 2 full-time special education teachers for next year. We will have a resource teacher out at Weyerhaeuser, and we added a resource teacher at the middle school as well. Revenues. It's a guess. So what you see here are 3 years of actual, because we closed out the 18-19 school year, where we're projecting to end the 19-20 school year, and what we're looking at in terms of budget for the 2021 school year. Sorry, I had an echo going there. So if you take out the capacity that is built in the 2021 school year, you can tell that we really are not seeing a huge increase over the 19-20 revenues. It really amounts to about $150,000. The good news is it didn't go the other way.
So can you clarify that $1 million is ghost money?
I personally don't believe in ghosts, but it is budgeting capacity. So think of it in terms of a credit card. You may be given a credit card limit of $14,500, but you're really only going to spend $12,500 because you only have income of $12,500. But maybe your boss gives you a raise halfway through the year, in which case then you can spend up to that $14,500 knowing you can pay it off. So that $1 million just gives us some flexibility if we are lucky enough to have increased enrollment, if we are lucky enough to procure some additional grants for the district, then we have some flexibility in being able to spend those in the current school year.
Thank you.
So by object code, you can tell that we are still seeing significant increases in our salaries and benefits as a result of our bargaining. So our certificated salaries will increase by 2.6% on the base in the 2021 school year. Our classified salaries are seeing an increase of 5%. Certificated staff is also seeing an increase in their enrichment stipends. So it goes from 4% in 1920 to 5.5% in 2021. Supplies, we went up just a little bit, mainly because that is where I put our flexibility in trying to anticipate some COVID spending and what we might need to procure in order to reopen our schools and keep our staff and students safe. Purchase services have actually gone down a little bit. Part of that is, as you know, this year we were able to add a psychologist to our staff rather than contracting those services out. And Terry has made significant improvements in our food service in terms of what we need to be purchasing and contracting with food services. Travel, there is some travel in there just in terms of mileage. Obviously, we're not anticipating anybody getting to go any place particularly wonderful at this point in time. And capital outlay for the most part is in technology, and it's in our CTE programs. We don't really have capital outlay built in any other places in our budget. So what that means is if you remove the capacity from our budget, salaries and benefits are at a little over 82% of our total budget. By activity, so as it should be, the bulk of our spending is instruction and instructional support. Transportation, we do spend a little more than districts our size. If you look and talk in terms of student FTE, but if you want to talk about in terms of mileage and square miles to be covered, we are at maximum efficiency, but we're just not going to be able to bring that percentage down due to our square miles. Maintenance and operations, there is an increase, and Unfortunately, that does reflect a 16% increase in our insurance rates for 2021.
Jeez.
Is that COVID related? Or is
No, that actually was announced prior to COVID.
Yeah.
That due to some large payouts, mostly from errors and omissions, that they were going to have to increase everybody's rates to cover.
Most of the increases, special ed last year.
So in 16-17, we hit sort of a low water mark in our fund balance. We're at 1.3 million, and we have steadily brought it back to a healthy, more stable position since then. But we just kind of wanted to point out, so the green line signifies 1 month's payroll. That's what we anticipate for 1 month's payroll for next year. The red line is if we want to cover 1 month's payroll and AP, so actually pay for our utilities. The little parentheses on the side with the dollar sign, that is the board adopted policy of having a 10 to 15% minimum fund balance. So we are within the realm, but we certainly have not hoarded by any means. However, as the board was so gracious, it does mean that it gives us a little flexibility to be able to spend down over the next 2 years as we anticipate some cuts in state funding, be able to maintain our services for our students. So at this time, we're anticipating ending 1920 at about 3.4 million, 27.7 coming in, and 28 going out. That does include the $1 million capacity in both revenue and expenditures. We do not transfer to any of our other funds from our general fund. So that leaves us with an ending fund balance of $3 million. And to break it down further, in our restricted for carryover, that's our categorical spending. We wanted to maximize what we carried over into next year, give us a little extra wiggle room. So we do about $85,000 in carryover. Most of that will be in LAP and CTE. Assigned to contingencies is actually our response, our allowable spend down. So at the end of the year, after spending down approximately $340,000, we will have a remaining balance to spend the next 2 years of $900,000. Assigned other purposes is our bargained idea money that our teachers get every year, that's set aside for them and not be used in other areas. And then our minimum fund balance policy, we have 1 month's payroll. MSOCs, our materials, supplies, and operating costs. This is actually by RCW a required slide that we have to show that we are using all of the money that they give us for supplies and not squandering it elsewhere. As you can see, we actually spend far more than they give us. Most of that is for utilities and insurance. The other big pocket I would point out, though, where we're underfunded, it's not MSOC, but is in substitutes. We are funded for 4 substitute days per funded teacher. Of course, we give them 12 days. So 8 days of subs were already being provided for by the district. It becomes more significant as we look into next year, possible COVID quarantines, needing to be out for 14 days or more on repeated occasions. None of that is funded by the federal government or by the state government. That will all be a district board expense.
Can we extend that out and then money for those dollars?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to keep close tabs on them.
Yes. So how does our 4-year outlook look? This was in the best of times, almost an impossibility to look 4 years into the future and figure out where we were going to be. And this year, it is anybody's best guess. So simply looking at our bargained increases in salaries, the correlated increase in benefits, a modest increase in our MSOCs, our utility rates, our gasoline rates. We will spend down through 2021, 22. 23, 24, I actually am hoping that we do not have to spend the entire contingency and we'll be able to start bouncing back. And in 24, 25, be closer to where we started the 2021 school year.
So the bouncing back is based on your projected enrollment?
It is
And
based on enrollment
property values?
and on what at this point was anticipated in terms of state funding. You know, they had projected out increases in subsequent years, and so obviously it is a best case scenario, but it has been such a doom and gloom spring that it really felt like perhaps that was needed at this
You
point.
just had to project the enrollment higher. Lots of COVID babies.
If
There
you,
will be COVID babies.
there will be,
There will be
COVID.
Yeah.
And if you look at our percentage of live birth rates for the next few years, we do have a lot of little bodies coming through.
Yeah. Good.
Capital Projects Fund, we receive our revenues now from levies, and we are finally receiving impact fees from the county, not yet from the city, but from the county. Actually, I've received 40,000 so far this year, so that,
0,000?
yes. So that has been a nice little unexpected chunk of change
And
that has
so the
come in.
city, where is that at? Because I had asked John about.
The last I heard, John and our attorney, Mr. Hood, were going to go back to the council to present a new agreement.
Okay.
We actually moved our technology leases out of the general fund and into the capital fund. So our brand new teacher devices, our brand new administrative devices, because we do finally have a capital levy, we were able to move those out of general fund and free those monies up, which we promptly filled with some subscriptions for online math programs to get us through this year as we anticipate flipping back and forth between virtual and in person. Interestingly enough, because we have a 4-year lease and it's considered long-term financing, they actually include the cost of the lease in our revenues. So the $731,000 includes $230,000 of lease income. It's not actual income. So we will not be spending that entire $731,000. And the ending fund balance then does include the remainder of that lease to be spent.
What do we lease out that we earn?
Our new teacher devices and the new administrative secretarial devices that are coming in. We have them on a 4-year lease. At the end of those 4 years, we have a $1 buyout option. And because we actually are buying them, we get to keep the expense in capital fund rather than having to transfer everything over to general fund to reflect those costs. Debt service fund, our revenues come from our local property tax and our timber excise tax. And then of course we're paying off the principal and interest on our existing bonds. At this point, we are paying more on the principal than on the interest. We have turned that corner so that we're paying it down at a quicker rate. And that's due to all of the refunding that the board has done in previous years. Transportation vehicle fund is funded solely on the state depreciation schedule and can only be used by buses. You can't even buy motor pool vans or cars out of the transportation vehicle fund. So what you see there on the left are our brand new buses that came in June, funded in part by the vehicle fund and in part by the grant that Clay secured through the Department of Ecology. So because of a timing issue, of course, with the cash flow on the funding, that depreciation money comes in August. We'll pay off the loan to the general fund that bridged the gap, and any subsequent purchases will happen in 2020 versus a lot of times they're purchased in August of 19. And with everything up in the air right now, I just wanted to set that aside to next year and see where we needed to go. Our student body, the revenues are clubs athletics and fundraisers. That does include the concession stand, the gate receipts, payment to get into the dances. There have been some new restrictive legislations in the last 2 years involving our free and reduced status students, what they can and cannot be charged, and what the district needs to fund. It is going to impact the revenues for our ASB to a pretty significant extent. That being said, they can only spend them on items that are outside of instruction. They have to be considered cultural, athletic, recreational, or social. Budgets were a little tricky. They usually approve those in May and June. Of course, we were not in person, so they actually held virtual meetings. The high school and middle school rolled over last year's budgets, and then they will go back in the fall and revise all of those budgets. By school, that means that the high school at the end of the year will have approximately $230,000, the middle school 32,000, and Columbia Crest has 13,000. Most of Columbia Crest's fundraising and expenditures are through their camp week in 6th grade, and of course their 8th grade graduation activities and end-of-year activities. That's it. Are there questions I can answer?
Hey Kim, it's Lisa. I have a question about the lease on the technology. Is that included the students' devices that we're going to be leasing as well? Because I remember we talked about that as well.
We have actually purchased the student devices rather than
Okay.
leased. So we were able to identify enough in categorical spending left this year that we ordered 500 out of our categorical spending. So that includes Title I, LAP, CTE, high cap, bilingual. And then we have ordered to date 37,000 worth out of capital levy.
Okay.
But so we have 600 devices that are on the way.
Okay, awesome.
We, as long as they deliver them, we will be 1-to-1 by the start of the school year.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Well, it's pretty manageable. I just have this idea in my mind that it works tonight, so of course things can change. So
I shared with Krista today that I really expect that the budget will change in about 2 weeks, and it'll keep changing throughout the year. When I first started and created my first budget, the gal at the ESD was helping me, said, it's just a budget. And of course, that didn't work for me. I'm a little too precise and everything had to be exact. This year, I understand it. It's just a budget. There's no way that what we end next year with is going to resemble in any way, shape, or form what we started out with. And I've come to be okay with that.
I'm curious, has the district office been hearing anything from parents about we're pulling our kid or want
Kim can give you that information.
I mean, how many?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, and I laughed because my dad was this guy. So typically in a year, we release from our district about 175 kids, and we take in about 125 to 130 kids. So when things have started rolling in this year, I started keeping track of who's new. So as to date, I only have 96, for, last year was 175. I only have 96 so far, but 29 of those are brand new, all going to virtual online within the last 2 months.
And that's
So
WAVA and Columbia. That's not our online.
that's not, yeah, that's not our online, that's other ones out there. So we've lost an additional 29 that we did not do last year.
And I will talk about some of that in the regular meeting. So, under reopening schools, we're addressing that.
And we recognize that we actually, our enrollment projection, while it does anticipate an increase for next year, that was the most conservative increase, looking at cohort survival, that we could have come up with. And we do believe at the point that everybody announces their reopening plans, that although we are losing, there is a good chance that we will be gaining additional as well.
And that actually happened today as well. So again, of those that we released, there was one who has been going to Puyallup since she was a kindergartner. She's fifth grade, and mom says, we want to enroll her in school here. So I anticipate, like she said, I anticipate some of that as well.
But just to be very clear though, in terms of that, we are not accepting outside enrollment, outside of our catchment area, and we will not do that, this year at this time. That will make sense when we talk about.
For, clarifying, for online or for any student?
Well, right now for online, we are not, because we need a little bit of time to figure out when people make their decisions.
Right.
But we are not opposed to that probably halfway through August. Yep, online only. Trying to anticipate when we come out and others come out, what might happen. Might not happen, but I think it would happen. It's a good chance.
And there's always the possibility, depending on how many of our catchment students choose to go online, that at some point there may be some flexibility in our in-person, but we won't know that for quite some time.
Yeah, we won't know that. We'll be doing a lot of work right before school.
Seems to be a common theme.
Well, even more so.
Any other questions?
I know, I tried to get Brandon to take it with her. No, I'll just leave it here.
You'll see here. You guys have room, right?
So we bought my in-laws house 15 years ago.
Mhm.
Up till 2 years ago, I had my sister-in-law's wedding dress hanging in my closet because it came with the house.
Big extra, no extra charge.
That's like
Lori, can you take your wedding dress?
Put it next to, they come over, you tuck it in there.
Yeah.
I have all the wedding dresses at my house.
I do too. I do too. Why?
Because they know we won't throw them away. That's why. What are we gonna do with it?
Mm-hmm.
They paid too much,
We'll toss one, send a message.
Yeah.
My house.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I feel like I would keep it if it's one of my daughters, but this is my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah, why? Yeah.
That's George,
Even
take
with
care
your
of
own
this.
daughter. Yeah, I don't know that you, are they gonna wear it again? You know.
Yeah, no.
I want my
Hopefully
mom's
not.
wedding dress.
I did too. I did too.
44 days till Rachel gets to wear her. I'll make the phase 4.
If anybody's counting.
Where is she, where?
Uh,
Location?
In the Squally Winds Mountain Lodge up in Ashford.
In Pittsburgh. Okay, so how many, phase 3 right now is 10 people.
Or phase 2.
No, they're 3.
No.
They're actually Lewis County.
Oh, they are, aren't they?
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
So,
So I
Yeah,
just,
but
August 29th, so we've got
okay.
a month.
We
We're gonna
people
make
wear your
phase
mask.
We're
4.
all gonna give service and wear our masks.
Yep.
Make sure we bring
My daughter's
That's
in a wedding that weekend too, down in Centralia.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Let's call this meeting to order and rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Look dumb now. Any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay, consider a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Nope.
What? I can't, it's,
No.
is there volume? Okay.
There is.
There's volume on there. Do you have your microphone on, Lisa?
Yeah, she's
I
not.
do. I
Oh,
do.
yeah, okay.
I'll turn you up.
You're just really quiet.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we can.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. I'm carrying my laptop so I can put my speaker on. Sorry.
Okay, no further discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? Agenda passes. We have no individuals or signed up to speak, I would imagine. So we'll move on to financial report.
So our revenues for the year are right even with where we would expect them to be at this point. We've collected 81.9% of our year's revenues. This stage of the game, we'd expect to be at 81.3, so we are right on, spot on. We are slightly under in federal, and that is due to not having claimed the bulk of our Title I and special education funding yet. So those grant claims are still in process, so that will catch up. Expenditure-wise, we are down about 200,000 for June this year over last year. A lot of that is utilities and supplies that we would normally have to buy. And so of course that is part of what we were putting away in our fund balance to help offset the next couple of years in our COVID expenditures to reopen schools. So at this point in time, we are projecting budgetary wise to end the year at about 3.4 million. I also had him share with you the WASBO legislative platform. as we head into this session, and just because, of course, a lot of their short-term priorities do have to do with the response to COVID. A couple of the biggest items, of course, are connectivity and making sure that all of our students have equitable access to educational services. We are also asking through WASBO for an enrollment and transportation hold harmless. As you know, OSPI has asked that parents drive their students to school if possible, but of course, our funding for transportation is ridership driven. So we are asking for a hold harmless on a transportation piece and on enrollment as we have our students choose to stay home or work virtually. The other big one is that we are asking that the legislature not make our federal revenue that came in response to COVID a deductible revenue. That's what happened with the ARA funds. And at that point, there was enough offset that it wasn't a huge loss. At this point, it would be extremely detrimental to schools to make the CARES funding, the ESSER funding, deductible revenue. So the full platform is on the shared document, but I just wanted to highlight those couple of items.
Do they have any idea if you'll get an answer around that or the special session, or?
I think the short answer is yes. Are the chances of our getting an acceptable answer probably not as high as we would hope for at this point in time.
Do you want to also talk about SEB?
There have been two new guidances that came out this week, one from unemployment and one from the HCA, both dealing with potential layoffs for employees. The one from unemployment I actually found most disturbing. In the guidance, it says that until a district files their reopening plan with OSPI, our employees can collect unemployment. So at this point, it sounds like there may be a presumption that schools are no longer functioning entities, that we are not going to be hiring anybody, and therefore anybody would be eligible for that unemployment.
Every teacher, regardless.
Well, this would be our classified staff for the most part as well. We send out letters of assurance every spring that after summer break, their employment will continue. We do that specifically to avoid unemployment over the summer months. So in a normal situation, they would not be eligible for unemployment. So all of a sudden, they're adding additional unemployment costs on the districts at a time when we're struggling to use every dime to reopen schools. So that's an unfortunate presumption on their part. The other piece was HCA, which basically said that if an employee had been eligible for benefits back prior to March 17th, that benefit eligibility would continue through the end of the year. So whether or not a district chooses to lay off, they're still going to be on the hook for the benefits for those employees. Normally, a laid off employee could find their benefits through the healthcare finder at the state. So what they've done again is to shift that burden to districts. So rather than the state fund those benefits, they're asking that the districts carry those. Of course, now since we've gone to SEB, that is a $12,000 a year ask per employee. So WASBO's president did present to the legislature yesterday our opposition to the SEB rule changes. I would heartily advise everybody, if you can, call whomever you can, that this is a burden that districts could buckle under. The additional SEB costs for substitutes that were added last year for some of the larger districts alone was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I was talking to Tom Siegel about this stuff and opt-out cost, for Bethel, $2.5 million.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now even if and now even if they choose to lay people off, they're still going to be on the hook for that money. So those were two pieces that I had rather strong responses to this week.
Isn't there also a threshold? I thought the board was.
They were talking about lowering
Down
the
to
minimum
500.
number of hours
Yeah,
that a
down to
person must
500.
meet. So it was 630, and talk of lowering it down to 500.
Who's talking about OSPI?
The board,
HCA,
the said board.
subboard.
And are they appointed? How did the
The board, I believe, is an appointed group, and some of it is a volunteer group that reports to the state.
legislative oversight, no opportunity?
I don't know, we'd have to look and see at the
I'll write it.
constituency. Of the said board. I don't know. I think it's under the jurisdiction of the HCA.
Yes, it is, yes. So
So,
I'm happy to forward those to you.
thank you, Kim.
And if you have a model letter, that would be.
And Kim, the other thing that I just want to say is, it is no small feat when you say what our reserve is. That is hard work the last few years. So it's been a hard, I was going to say hard road to hoe, but I don't think that's what I want to say. It's been a hard road to get to that. And who knew that we were going to be facing a pandemic this year? So
No, but I will say, having the administration willing to do that work put us in a position this year where other districts were already looking at having to reckon at a deficit, and we can confidently go into next year not doing so.
but thank you for your guidance and your support and leadership in that.
Okay, report on the EHS Career Center.
Yes, you will find attached the Eatonville High School Career Center report. If you have any specific questions, I may or may not be able to answer them. But if there's no questions, we can go on to unfinished business.
So can I ask a question about the Career Center?
Yes.
Because I am a big fan, and is this also reflecting the graduation support work?
Yes.
Okay. And how is that work changing, or is there, maybe this is an Amy question.
It probably is an Amy question.
I'll reach out to her and ask,
Okay.
because I want to make, in my opinion, the work that happens in that Career Center is so vital and important to students, and we
Yes.
see that reflected in our graduation work. And
Absolutely.
so I want to give a shout out to the Career Center for doing that, but also how is their work changing? What does that look
Right.
like as we move forward?
Well, I can answer something that I heard this week. Amy talking about that Marianne was on with some students talking through specific. So she has been Zooming with specific students. So, not office hours, but, specific making appointments.
And I know she's
With
very
kids.
dedicated to kids.
Yeah,
She
absolutely. And then Kathy Kerr as well. It will be interesting to see what that looks like. But we anticipate that we will be back face to face for a while. So,
would hate to see with all the shrinking that has to happen
Yeah.
to see the Career Center be lost to our kids.
Yeah,
so that was a decision that, a choice that was made last year for this next year. So Kathy Kerr is still basically in the same role.
Job title has changed to graduation specialist.
Graduation specialist.
Yeah.
I knew she was doing much of that work. So.
Are there any questions online, Lisa or Matt? Okay.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay,
I'm good.
move on to unfinished business, reopening of schools.
All right, all encompassing reopening of schools. So today I had an opportunity to meet with both of our leaders in both of our unions, the PSC and our teachers union, EEA, along with some representative administrators, John. We invited Heidi, but it was her birthday as our nurse, so we let her have the day off, and myself. We had an opportunity to really kind of go through our draft. We do have 2 copies of drafts. One is really guidelines in alignment to the value to OSPI guidelines, and
we have determined, and I'm just going to give overall specifics here, and then I will come back to you. You will be sent an electronic version, and then I will talk with you one-on-one. We still have one more meeting in about a week and a half with our union representation. They are going to be working with the administrators to flesh out quite a few things, but we do know specific things at this time. We do know that we have options for reopening around safety concerns, health screening, visitors, PPE requirements and options. We know that John has ordered, I don't know, 20,000, is that correct? That's what's sticking in my head. 20,000 KN95s and shields. Not 20,000 shields. Well, They
I
ordered shields for all certificates. Yes, we have shields for all of our certificated employees. Those are optional, but we've ordered.
Masks required with the shield.
They,
Yes.
all employees must wear masks at all
Shield
times.
is an addition.
Correct.
If-
Unless they're doing health screening.
Yeah.
And then it's required.
Okay, so if they're in the front of the classroom giving instruction, could they, 6 feet away, could they take off their masks?
They cannot. No,
But we have ordered masks with windows.
right.
across the
What if they
mouths.
fog up?
Yeah. Well, we've ordered them.
Yeah,
Then.
we will.
The health department and the labor and industry guidelines are very strict around the PPE requirements in schools. We've also ordered gloves. We talked about building information around ventilation. We do have filtered air in the HVAC, and John has been working with the emergency management team really closely. We have hand sanitizer at our major entries. We talked about daily and additional disinfecting. We talked about COVID-19 education, both for students and for staff. We know that the Safe School modules is included, so procedures for staff as well. And then we are in the process of working with the Department of Health about potential exposure and high-risk employees. So we had a really, really rich conversation. We also talked about the difference between 6-foot social distancing at all times in the classrooms. We have had an opportunity to really have an impact statewide in the conversation. We continue to have that conversation. And I will have that conversation on Tuesday with that small group, the Department of Health, Labor and Industry, OSPI, and WEA, PSE, and the rest of the alphabet soup I can't think of right now. But with 6 feet in social distancing, we are able to, our elementary will go 5 days per week. Now this is unofficial at this time, so we're not posting anything. But this is our plan. We can go 5 days a week. Our specialist will be also having classes. We'll be 1 hour late. So we come in 1 hour late. 1 hour allows health screening, and it allows for common planning. That's why specialists push in to give common planning, so the classroom size is lower. We can get approximately down to 17 students per teacher, okay? So I don't want to go way into, and we're not going to go in the weeds tonight, okay? So I know that you probably have questions, but that's in a nutshell. We will be one of the very few school districts that will be offering elementary school in person every single day, 5 days a week. We will be doing a hybrid model in secondary. It will sound like an alternate shift, so there will be an A group and a B group. We believe that our C version, and we talked about having that on a Wednesday, will look different than other school districts, because the administrators have been very intentional about having a and MTSS, multi-tiered kind of intervention. So looking at students that had incompletes, looking at students that were failing, identified by teachers. So there will be small group instruction for special education. Students can attend every day. We will have buses running every day, 5 days a week, for the secondary to access. we talked about a variety of different things. But as I said, this is still in draft form. And so both of the union membership, they will be talking informally, but at this time, we're not going out and saying this is exactly what we're going to do. We know that things are fluid. We know the research is very clear, though, about elementary school students. It's been very explicit from the board as well. The more in-person that we have, the less inequities we have. One thing that will be different from last spring is that all of our students will have a device from day one. So face-to-face instruction, but also incorporating Google Classroom, using the 4 C's from Jeff Utek, and a commitment for professional development later in August. We know that many of our families will choose, for a variety of different reasons, to do virtual. We anticipate that we will have a robust virtual offering for them. I have asked, and Amy has put together, and actually Kim has been helping with putting together some information so that families know that we have had a Mount Rainier Parent Partnership for many years. And that is not new, nor is our online academy. We have had that for middle school and high school students. And we will be probably most likely asking parents to make a commitment for the year. Because if they are going to go online and then let's say, lo and behold, there is a vaccine, and then we won't have the teaching capacity, okay, at that time. So we know that we're anticipating kind of this muddy future, but we feel really good about where we're at. I have to give it up for Kim and John and Clay really thinking about the logistics and the operations, and they've been thinking about that. Okay, I'm going to take a breather. At the beginning of August, I will be putting together, I'm calling it a soft opening, but it will be just kind of a general, my August newsletter will come out with a plan for parents to consider. And then a week later, we'll put out a survey for them to make a commitment, okay? So with that, and thinking about that, we know that we have to have 2 weeks to have our reopening plan approved or accessed by OSPI. It came out today. It's very simple, actually. It's very much click down. It's more yeah, what she said. I don't know. It's been a long day. So there's a lot of drop down menu. Have you done this? Yes or no, which is great. We do have, so I have 2 documents that if board members want to contact me, I just don't want to, this is so draft, but we have a pretty long school reopening plan that's already done. And then all of the school plans will be attached to that. You'll be able to see all of that. And I am going to ask for a special session for you to accept the resolution along with this document once our unions have met and we've kind of gone further, with that. So next time we meet with them is the 20, I want to say the 29th. So I would like to propose possibly on that after 28th, I'm sorry. So sometime between the 28th and 29th, if we could have a special session, it could be a Zoom session. I just need a resolution. You have to pass a resolution and then I have to pass it on to OSPI. That will at least get us in the queue for us to do that 2 weeks before the reopening of schools. So I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but I just kind of want to paint a quick picture. I told the union's members that I was going to paint a picture and not get into the weeds yet. There's a lot of things that probably will shake out. What it's going to look like for secondary will be that students will have an option. All of them will have at least 2 days a week. Some students will have 3 days a week. And other students, like we have talked about, potentially grits, and that will be a conversation with Todd, but they may go 5 days a week. We know that we have certain groups of students. It may be our students in a smaller group size that maybe have an AP class that can meet every day.
and the teacher wants to meet every day. And so they would have it 5 days a week. So it won't just be certain groups of kids. Amy is very excited, and Jan is very excited about the opportunities to really impact students in a tiered level that we've never been able to do before. So
My question isn't around your plan. I understand that is still very open. My question is about the opportunity for parents to become really informed about the options once those are nailed down. And would that be, do you foresee that having a webinar or a Zoom?
absolutely.
So that people can say, here, they can just click and we.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So I would propose that we do that first week. So I'd like to do a soft opening and then have a Zoom, maybe a town hall that would be informative. And
before they have to make their decision.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know parents would.
I'm sure that they would. Yeah. We know that other school districts are coming out right now.
Seattle,
yeah. So just to be very clear, at this time, we are not taking students from outside our catchment area. That really is to protect the numbers in the elementary, to keep them down. We are anticipating about 18 or so, and that's before we have people opt out. So if people are opting out to go remote or whatever, we would like to set a deadline for parents. So just know that we're thinking through that. I will probably just be releasing information and having you part of the conversation. But if we release a survey and we don't hear back from the families by X date, we are going to make the assumption that they are going to do face-to-face instruction. All right, do you have any questions? Okay.
Okay.
So that's where we are reopening schools. Can I just say that this is the least calm July I've ever had in my life. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And even if the plans are done, then even today, each of the administrators has to go down the rabbit hole of what does that actually look like? Who's actually going to do this? What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? So anticipating all the unknowns, that will be a lot of work in August. And then anticipating the things that we forgot or didn't know until we open up, that will be interesting. We need to make it very clear that we are not going to be having volunteers this year or parent volunteers inside. It is really going to be hard. So maybe thinking through what a volunteer could do to help our schools when they're not allowed to be face-to-face.
So no volunteers in the classroom, but there could be outside volunteer opportunities.
Outside, yes, yes, or outside the school building. Yeah, yeah. But
Kristen, sorry,
yep.
Can I ask for clarification? Mm-hmm. When is something going to be pushed out to the public? I mean,
August 1st.
August 1st.
Yeah,
okay.
It will go out in my August newsletter. So I don't know if there's a specific day that a special meeting could occur. It will be very quick unless you have a lot of questions on the plan. You will receive the plan before. So if you had specific questions, I would ask that you just call me, or you can come in with your mask and we can talk 6 feet away from each other. To be very clear, the difference between a 30 by 30 classroom at 6 feet is that we can approximately get in 18 student desks, okay? At 3 by 3, we could get over 50 students in a classroom. So that's the difference. Yeah, it's significant. So we had a very clear conversation with, was it with Maddie Thompson, the governor's office,
yeah,
and the Department of Health around that, because we wanted for them to understand that the difference between 6 feet and 3 feet is the difference between most elementaries opening face-to-face and not being able to, or doing a hybrid model. So, but we don't anticipate, because the numbers are not looking good, but you know, we still have a month and a half. So wear your mask or stay far away from each other.
Or stay home.
Yeah, or stay home. All right, I am done. No action taken.
Okay. We'll move on to new business, accepting bids for behavioral services.
Yeah, so if you wanted to lump them together, I just wanted to point out the two sealed bids that had to go out for the Vista Therapy and the Fairfax Behavioral Therapy. Only one came back with a price, the other one did not. So that was interesting. That was a delay.
That qualifies a bid.
Well,
Okay, all right. I was thinking, going back to my contract line.
yeah, yeah, that was hard. That was a hard decision. Okay, are there any questions on that?
No.
Okay,
Kevin?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept items 8, 8, and these are Matt, can you second that?
Second.
Yep, I'll second.
Got it, thank you.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, no further discussion. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right, that motion passes. Move on to Preston.
all right, quickly. So thank you very much. Just a few updates. Really, it's all encompassing for the school reopening. I would like to know if any of the board members would like to be part of the Zoom presentation for our reopening plan. Is there anybody that has a,
I would
Bernie?
like to attend, Kristen.
okay, all right, Lisa?
If you need me, I'm happy to add a person.
No, it is not. It is not a
I'm here to
burden.
help. That's,
Okay,
we're
Okay.
here to support you in the best way possible. And if
Okay.
that support means to not be on there, that works for me.
I agree. This is, I don't think this is really something for the board to really mix their fingers into.
well, I'm talking about the presentation for the Zoom for the community,
Oh,
right? For the Zoom, so that the parents can have a conversation.
Sure.
Okay.
And I'm more than happy to be present
Okay.
for that, yeah.
Just let us know what.
Well, so what I'd like to do is to put at least, maybe each of you has a little part to it, but we will produce an asynchronous video, and then we'll just do the presentation, and then we'll open it up for any questions.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. So I think that would be fun. So real quickly, you know, our days are very busy. I think the Puget Sound ESD and the ESD 113 superintendents that oversee that, we are meeting at least once a week, twice a week at times. And there really has been a real concerted effort for the superintendents to share information. So I just publicly want to thank Thurston County superintendents. A lot of what you see, the documents, we not stole, but they were shared with us, and we're trying to share all the information. We do have a resolution, Jeff, that I probably will send to you early so you could just kind of look at it, but that will be the resolution that will accept this, with the understanding that if we accept it, right, at the end of July, it might have to look different. So we're going to have to be flexible and be able to change. Debbie has had her surgery and she is recovering. So we sent some flowers to her and she is doing well. I know she's keeping in contact with Kim and we wish her the best. And it was a good thing that she had the surgery. So yeah, she's doing well. Today I had an opportunity to have two Zooms at once. I'm on the family engagement reopening schools for OSPI, as well as the mastery-based learning group. We had a retreat today, so there's a lot of work that's going on, and I sometimes feel that people are a little disconnected with the amount of work that all of the staff have to do in order to reopen schools during a pandemic and all of the planning. So I kind of made that clear with both of the groups that people are really working hard on behalf of children, and I'm so grateful for a really wonderful state. Next week, I have the opportunity to tell the story of Eatonville and how we have changed our fund balance and how academic success has gone hand in hand with that. And that is really the work of our new fiscal business manager over the last few years. I will be telling that story to the new superintendents, and I'm very, very proud. The Forecast 5 gentleman, Jeff Carew, he just has amazing things to say about Eatonville and the change in our fiscal ability, and the fact that we have turned it around and increased academic success. So it is quite a story. It's a huge honor to be able to tell that story. And I want to thank Amy Jean for the hard work that she does. She's such a quality, she does such quality communication that she already did it. She already changed it, and it's just so great. Our OSPI reopening plans have to be in 2 weeks before. And so I stated that. We will need a resolution as well as a plan. That plan can change. On August 5th and 6th, I will be going over to Spokane to have a very, very small meeting with the new president. I am officially past president of WASA, and I want to thank all of you for your support. Who knew that it was going to be such a weird year that would be so much work? And so it has been an honor and a privilege, and I was happy to pass the gavel. So his name is Brian Talbot, so Brian will have a great year. Athletics has started, and I sent you a couple information, but I just have to tell you that if you have an opportunity to just kind of peek your head in there, you can't actually go in there, but the kids are doing a great job and the coaches are so grateful. I did have a conversation with John. He would like to start the 8th graders, having the 8th graders, middle school, to be able to practice. I talked with Michael Sneezak today. I think we can okay it. Okay, as long as they keep the guidelines. Graduation, as you knew, was going to be in a large setting. And so Amy will be working with Mike Moeller and Sheila, and we will be doing something different. She said, can we be outside in the football field area? And I said, that is perfect. So Kim doesn't even know this, but there will be plans. So there will be something on that date, but it will most likely not be, well, it will not be in Lacey. But that's not public knowledge yet. So we'll let Amy release that information. I had an opportunity to talk with Maddie Thompson about Kim's information around the unemployment and the trigger, the reopening plans. And they hadn't thought that through. And it was pretty amazing that Kim caught that, and they had not caught that. So they will be revising their information based on that. Next week, I have an opportunity to talk with Kim Schreier's office, Patty Murray's office, and Maria Cantwell's office, all about advocating for COVID and the specific things that we need for reopening schools. That's a follow-up conversation. And sometime after the 29th, I will go on a vacation. I'm not sure where I'm going to go. I don't know. But I have told all the staff here, every chance they can, they actually need to get away, because it is going to be a really long year. So really the mental health and well-being of our staff as they transition. The district office staff has been amazing. They are wearing masks and the protocols. You know, the rest of the staff, when they come back, they will have to kind of get used to a new normal. So, but we need our district office staff to be healthy and to be whole. So with that, I am done. It's nice to see you.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, so board comments. We'll start online there. Matt, do you have anything to add?
I don't have much to add. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for all that hard work. I'm looking forward to more information as it comes forward and getting students back in school.
Right. Okay. Lisa?
I just want to thank especially Kim for the work that she's done in that budget and the community budget work. I know that that's a lot of work to put that together. So thank you, Kim. Good to see you, Rhonda, Jeff, and Preston. I can't see Kim. But I want you all to know that I'm also part of some of the work group in Franklin Pearson reopening schools. And kudos to Creston and Kim and her cabinet for the hard work that they're doing to make sure that we get the kids back in school. They need to come back. They need that social piece. And so I really, really appreciate Preston taking the lead on this and making sure that we get those kids back in school. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate it.
Well, we know it's going to be hard, but we know it's the right thing. And so, you know, we might end up, well, I won't even say it out loud. Kim's like, don't say it out loud. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Rhonda, anything?
Well, I want to, again, thank you for all the work, but also what I want to thank you for, and I think this is really great and unique, is that you are doing the best you can to get kids into classrooms and offering parents options and being really open about those options. And I think that's so important. And I'm so grateful for that hard work because I know that's not easy. It puts budgeting, it puts hiring, it puts everything in a flux, but you're prioritizing family choice. And I know it can be. Thank you.
I would say the exact same thing. I mean, we're going to get as many kids in the buildings as we can, and families don't want to do that, then have another option. So, all right. Anything else? Last chance. Going, done. All right, let's adjourn this meeting at 7:39.
Woo! Nice job.
Yay!
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Lisa.
Good night. You're welcome.
Thank you, Drew.
Welcome.
There we go.